So, good afternoon. Okay. Check natin. Ganda. Ayun. Okay. So, ganito. Our topic for today is about motion capture. Diba? Dito, so, I think aware naman kayo sa motion capture, di ba? Unfortunately, hindi tayo makaano dito. Kulang tayo sa materials para makapaggawa tayo nito ng motion capture. For example, tulad ng wala tayong mock-up suit, 'di ba? Wala naman tayong ganon. Cellphone or kwarto na para pwedeng pang chroma. Pero possible kung kunwari may budget tayo. Siyempre, siyempre ayoko naman na parang ayokong yung expectation, 'di ba, na siguro in time, 'di ba, matatry nyo din 'yan. Okay? So ano bang meron sa motion capture ang natin sa topic natin, okay? So ang gagawin lang naman natin dito is mostly hindi na ako magpapa-activity ng motion capture since imposible nga. Kahit ako hindi ko magagawa 'to. Okay? So ang na lang is bibigyan ko na lang kayo ng assignment. So, research kayo ng mga animation na kung ano yung animation or movies na gumamit ng motion capture. Okay. So, tawag ito, asan ito? Dual screen. So, objective is introduction to motion capture, and then history of motion capture, and then using of plugins. So, bakit using of plugins? Dahil dito sa Blender, wala naman siyang literal na motion capture na for example, camera na ganon. We're going to use a third-party software which is yung plugin yung Rococo Studio. And then, so instructional lang how to use the motion capture with Blender using yung Rococo nga. Okay. So, introduce mo natin. So, motion capture. So, pag sinabing motion capture, minsan usually ang tinatawag nila is mocap. So nakakita na kayo siguro ng mga mocap. So mga pelikula na behind the scenes. 'Di ba? So ano yung mga pelikula na tingin niyo nakita niyo na mayroong mocap? Sino ba to? Yung sa
Avatar, sir. Pwede ba?
Sa Avatar yun. Diba? Sa example yun, di ba? Kaya sa Guardians of the Galaxy, yung yung Pax, yung raccoon, di ba? Kung makita mo yun, yung kapat ni James Gunn yung gumaganap na raccoon. So yun. Siyempre, motion capture is the process of recording the movement of objects or people. It used in mostly military, entertainment, sports, medical application, for validation of computer visions on robotics. Pagdating naman sa filmmaking or video game development, it refers to recording action of human actors and using that information to animate digital character models in 2D or 3D. So, recommend ko na sa inyo, for example, lalo na sa filmmaking, usually mga sci-fi, di ba, mga ganon. Or kunwari, de-aging. So, I think familiar kayo sa de-aging. Ito yung mga, kunwari, matatanda ng artista. Tapos, ilalapat ng 3D rendered face sa ano niya. So, ang nangyari, ito, katulad nitong nandito sa illustration natin, for example, yung mino-mocap. Kunwari, sabihin natin, sobrang tanda na eh, di ba? Kunwari, gumawa na may eksena na flashback, di ba? So, kung kukunin mo yung actor, usually, pwede, paano, pero kung kunwari yung galaw, kung na siya, lumpu-lumpu na, di ba? So, ibang actor yung parang pinaka may stunt double. Tapos, ilalapat na lang yung mukha. O for example, tulad nung nangyari kay si Carrie Fisher ba yun? Kakalam ko. Yung Rogue One, familiar kayo sa Star Wars Rogue One?
Yes, sir.
Di ba? Kasi bago nalabas yung Rogue One, patay na siya. Di ba? So, ang ginawa is, ginamitan na lang siya ng motion capture. So, yung nilapat na lang yung mukha niya ganon. O kaya yung sino pa yung namatay sa Fast and Furious? Si Paul Walker, di ba? So, di ba? Para maging possible yon. Okay. Sa game development naman, tulad nito, parang for example, kung nakita niyo yung behind the scene kung paano yung ginawa yung God of War. So usually, yung mga paano yung action scene, tapos yung mga movie cutscene ng mga mga games. And then maliban sa mismong cutscene, ginagagamit din sa game development. So for example, wrestling, di ba? So kunwari, minsan syempre kung as a 3D artist, syempre may mga tayo profession eh. Siguro kaya mo mag-animate pero syempre paano yung flow ng yung galaw ng movements ng So hire ka talaga ng tawag dito, totoong wrestler tapos lapatan mo ng mock-up suit. So when it includes face and fingers or captures subtle expression, di ba lahat yun naka natin. It uses a performance capture. In many fields, motion captures is sometimes called motion tracking. But in filmmaking and games, motion tracking usually refers more to much moving. So in motion capture, session movements of one or more actors are sampled many times per second, where early techniques use image from multiple cameras to calculate 3D positions. Often the purpose of motion capture is to record only the movement of the actor, not their visual appearance. The animation data is mapped to a 3D model so that the model performs the same action as the actor. And this process may be constrained with the older techniques of rotoscoping. Okay. So, babalikan natin yung rotoscoping. Kung natatandaan yung rotoscoping sa animation natin, ito yung parang live tracing nung tawag dito, live action film and then re-retrace. Di ba yun yung sa rotoscoping? So, masasabi yun na part ng natin. Okay, so kahit pa na to. Okay na yan. History of motion capture. So kung natin ang history of motion capture, pwede mong consider yung rotoscoping, which is yung, if you remember, yung kay Max Fleischer, which is yung gumawa ng Superman na yung lumang-luma. Alam ko, pinakita ko yung video sa inyo nun eh. Yung Betty Boop and Popeye. Tapos here, we have yung image ni Coco, the clown. So, he invented yung rotoscoping. Diba? So, ito yung mga, for example, mga Disney animation tulad ng Snow White. So, pero ang technique, syempre, binabase yung galaw ng character, tapos the drawing. Pero pagdating naman sa Disney, para makakuha sila ng accurate na galaw ng tao, gumawa sila live shot and then ginawa nilang reference yun. Kaya makikita mo, ang fluent, ang smooth ng galaw ng tawag dito, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Okay. Pero kung sa pagdating sa yung mock-up suit is developed by animator Lee Harrison III, who was developing the world's first mock-up suit which could record and animate an actor's movement in real time. Ang ginamit dito ay potentiometers that attach in the bodysuit that can pick up the movements of the actors. So, and then with this, matatranslate to yung animation yung galaw ng actor. Within 2 decades, animator had improved the bodysuits, lining them with active markers, and using large cameras to track the movements, which produced the digital animation that were far more detailed and accurate. So one of the animation na gumamit ng mocap is Sinbad Beyond the Veils of Mist. Okay. So with motion capture, it used the mocap suits that were able to translate movement into 3D animation. So the development and evolution of motion capture for animation brought with it groundbreaking characters such as the fully computer-generated tulad nung isa sa mga pelikula ng Star Wars, si Jar Jar Binks. Hindi ko lang alam kung familiar kayo dito.
Jar Jar.
Pero ang ano dito, syempre yung leeg. Kasi syempre hindi naman makakaya ngayon. So, ang una nilabas to mga 1999 na ito. Wala pang 2000 to eh. Syempre the making pa, yung Phantom Menace. Jar Jar Binks was one of the first main actor-driven CG characters in the feature films. A few years later, meron tayo yung Lord of the Rings. Ito yung talagang fully length na mocap. Nakalimutan ko yung ito yung director ng Venom. Si Serkis. So ito hindi pa to pre-rendering pa lang to yung si Gollum sa Lord of the Rings. Into the new mocap territory to specifically with his appearance in the second Lord of the Ring movie, The Two Towers. So the technique surface rotoscoping was used to bring this character to life, and that technique is the motion capture, or what we call performance capture. For this evolved version of mocap to work, Andy Serkis had to be kept out in a mocap suit while special cameras recorded not only scrolling, hopping, twitching movements, but also his wide-eyed and scowling facial expression. Siyempre, nung time na yun, pagkatapos na ng Lord of the Rings, di ba nagkaroon na ng mga iba-ibang tawag dito, pelikula na gumagamit ng mga tawag dito, mocap. Di ba? Usually, pa yung mga palabas na yun, tulad ng sino ba yan yung palabas yun? Yung Life of Pi, ang pronounce ba yun? Life of Pi.
Life of Pi.
Oo, napanood nyo na ba yun? Di ba? May anong kasama nyo doon?
Only yung death.
Oo. Ay, pag-aling naman talaga. Diba? Yung mga pelikula pala ni Ang Lee. The Hulk. Diba? Yung unang si Bana. Eric Bana. Tapos yung Gemini Man. Diba? Nakita mo naman paano yung lupit nun. Yung ginawa nilang Gemini Man. Pinabata si Will Smith. Okay. So sa early 2000s, ito pala yung Polar Express. Nakalimutan ko. So, brought with the more development in motion capture for movies, inspiring director Robert Zemeckis to use the newly evolved tech to create the Polar Express. With the performance capture technology, although this tech was used previously in Lord of the Rings and Star Wars, example, ito ay gumamit ng entire film. So, meron pa makakonsider natin yung, hindi ko alam pronounce kasi siya, Irish, Beowulf. Familiar kayo dun, yung kalaban si Angelina Jolie?
Beowulf, sir.
Beowulf, no?
Beowulf.
Ano ba yan? Scottish o Irish?
Parang Irish ata,
Ang
sir.
galing, no? Kita mo naman, di ba? Pwede naman sila yung mismong artista naman na din yung kinuha nila. Bakit pa sila? CGI, no? So, yun, di ba? Tapos, syempre, yung mga pics, tawag dito? So, syempre, Avatar. Ang Avatar, it took almost 10 years bago nagawa. Hindi naman yung process, yung
pre-production.
Kasi syempre technology nung time na yun hindi pa tulad nga nung sa yung gusto niya yung nabivisualize si James Cameron. So inantay niya muna na mag-develop yung technology. Gumanda na So kita mo naman. Kaya ewan ko kung bakit yung Avatar 2 wala pa eh. Sabi meron daw. Diba? Baka nag-aantay pa ng mas malupit na Wait lang. Siyempre.
Yung Volpes 5 nga sa 7, wala pa eh.
Oo, wala na yun. Hindi na siguro makalabas yun. Ayun. O nga, no, 2022 na. In-announce yun 2000, no? 2020.
Opo, sir.
Ay, sir, babalik ulit si Miyazaki sa Gilby Studios. Gagawa ulit siya ng isang,
Anong pelikula?
parang bago eh. Pero iba na yung graphics niya. Parang na.
Hmm.
Parang yung cartoon na yun. Mga cartoon.
Wow.
Parang Doraemon na gano'n.
Okay.
Pero di ko pa nakita yung Doraemon. Wala pa ata eh. Nag-retire na siya eh. Tapos sabi daw niya, mabalik daw siya.
Yung Studio Jeep, parang mukha KFC, no? Si Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Si Colonel.
Oo, hawig niya eh. May estudyante ako dati niya sa Bestlink, ang hilig niya sa ganun. Binigyan niya sa akin mga 4K copy ng mga video. Hindi nagkasya sa ano ko. Hindi pa kaya ng computer ko, naglag lang. Hindi ko rin napanood. Okay. So yun, following the success of Avatar, mocap has continued to evolve. Na syempre, after ng Avatar, marami ng palabas, di ba? Hindi, Transformer, hindi yan eh. Siguro, ano pa ba? Babay ng mocap. Yung tawag ito, mga, hindi Shrek eh. Usually, konti lang nagmo-mocap eh. So, mostly mga de-aging tulad ng Tron Legacy.
Tron Legacy.
Oo, si Kurt Russell, di ba? Sino pa ba? Ano pa ba? Tawag ito. Pagdating ngayon, yung mga mostly, mga Marvel films, di ba? So, gumamit na sila ng mocap. Tapos,
Si Hulk.
Oo. And then, syempre, pagdating sa game development, ganun din. So, tawag ito. So, parang part na ng ano natin yan. Kaya parang, example nito, way back 2000, pala 2000 yata, 2002. The Matrix, kung familiar kayo doon. Yun, may mga part na gumamit din ng mocap doon. Tapos, one time, dapat si Jet Li, familiar kayo kay Jet Li?
Oo.
Si Jet Li dapat magiging part siya ng The Matrix. Nasa na siya, production. Ang ginawa, gusto parang emotion capture yung mga fight scenes niya. So, nung na-realize niya na parang isi-save yung niya, syempre, galaw na lang yung kukunin sa kanya, di ba? So, pwedeng i-planta ng kunwari, sabi natin, si Keanu Reeves tala ipalit dun sa katawan. Di ba, i-render nila yung 3D model ni Keanu Reeves, yung karate. So, parang sa ating, Onion Hills part, ayaw niya. So, parang nag-quit siya sa resident, sa The Matrix. Kasi, parang yung martial arts niya, parang tagal niya pre-practice yan 10 years, di ba? Parang 10 or ilang dekada. Tapos, pagkano gagamitin lang nila, so pwedeng kahit sinong gumamit. So, parang, kumbaga yung respect or honor dun sa practice ng karate na yun, mawawala. Kaya makukuha lang ng Hollywood. Kaya umalis siya dun sa Basta merong character doon sa sa The Matrix, yung parang Chinese. Nakalimutan ko yung character na yun. Dapat si Jet Li. So yun. Okay? So ngayon, discuss natin yung using the plugins in Blender. Okay? So in this case, we're going, in order to create the mocap, we need to use the Rococo Studio Live plugin. So, search nyo na lang sa tawag dito, internet, www.rococo.com studio, o kaya Rococo lang lalabas yan, tapos search nyo yung Blender plugin. Syempre dito usually may mga bayad. So, pag ganon, tulad yung example, pinakita ko yung video kung paano maglagay ng add-ons. Punta ka sa edit, and then preference. Pag pindot mo yung preference, click yung add-ons, and then pwede naman download o search. Pero ang gawin natin, pag na-download na, install. And hanapin mo kung saan nakalagay yon. So, installing add-ons, there are hundreds of add-ons that are not distributed with Blender and are developed by others. To add them to the list of other add-ons, they must be installed to Blender. To To install this, use the install. Kailangan yung zip or py file, which is yung py is Python. Now, the add will be installed, however, not automatically enabled. So, you're going to search for that. So, pero yung example natin, yung Paste Builder, di ba? Pagka-install natin, makikita na kagad natin sa mesh folder natin. And then using Rococo, using motion capture with Blender, Rococo has plugins compatible with all major 3D platform. So meron mga 3D Maya, 3ds, Maya, Blender, Zebra, mga ganon. If you don't have another 3D app, you can use the Rococo Studio Live plugin. This plugin will help you connect the motion capture data in Rococo and send it as FBX file into Blender. So paano natin? How to rig 3D characters with motion capture after downloading, installing Blender, Rococo Studio, and Studio Live plugin for Blender. Go to Mixamo and download the character and people. So, example lang na character to, pero pwede naman yun sa inyo. Open Rococo Studio and choose a sample scene animation. Then right-click and export the FBX file. And then step 3, open Blender. Go to Edit Preferences. Then hit build bone list and finally click retarget animation. Okay. So yon. Okay. Bakit? Okay. So wait lang natin to. Ayaw ah. Uy, mandar ka.
Sir, ano yun? Parang may kasamang bone na siya.
May kasamang?
Bone? May
Ah,
kasamang armature.
ayaw ah.
Saan yung link?
Tagal. Ayaw mo, diwag. O sige, dito lang tayo. Okay. Dito na lang. Wala palang kwenta yung PowerPoint na.
Create 52 blend shapes. This will
Laggers. Reason for it till it drops in my guitar.
What's up, everyone? I'm Sam from Rococo, and I am crazy excited to announce the release of our updated Blender plugin. So this release is actually a huge deal for us because it solves some fundamental workflow issues when it comes to using mocap in Blender, namely importing and retargeting. Blender doesn't really have a native tool that helps you with retargeting motion capture animation, which has been a huge problem in the past. That's why we're really excited that our new plugin makes it super easy to retarget any motion capture animation you have to a rigged character. It's incredible. In addition to that, our plugin actually reduces the time it takes to import FBXs, animated FBXs, into Blender. If you've used Blender and imported FBXs in the past, you know it can take a really long time. Just by installing our plugin, you will drastically shorten the amount of time it takes to import those FBXs, which is another really good reason to grab this plugin and install it. Finally, this plugin started as a plugin that allowed you to live stream mocap data from Rococo Studio into Blender, and it still does that, and I'm going to take you through how to stream that data live, including face cap data. Okay, let's jump in and walk through it. So first things first, let's look at the plugin itself. You can install the plugin by following the links in the description below, and then installing it as you would any Blender add-on.
Yung link nandyan sa chat.
Once you have enabled the plugin, it can be found in this tab over here.
Ako, hindi obra sa akin yan. Sasabog computer ko.
You'll sign in with your Rococo ID, which can be made with just an email at rococo.com. You can also click this button here to get there. And then here is the live area of the plugin. We'll get to that later in this video. Here is our retargeting inputs, and this is the aspect of the plugin that is so exciting. This is where you'll do retargeting for all your animation onto your characters. And then below here, you can install updates and access documentation and release notes info. Okay, so let's quickly jump into Rococo Studio. Here's an animation I recorded earlier. Pretty basic little celebration animation. And we're going to be using this animation that I made using the SmartSuit Pro, but this could also be an animation you got from Mixamo or anywhere else. This Rococo plugin is really useful across the board for any of your mocap needs. So now we'll export it. We can use either an FBX or BVH format, but I'm going to stick with FBX. Also, I want to export in a binary format when working in Blender. Okay, let's click export and jump back over to a new project in Blender. So first things first, we will import our mocap. Let's go to File, Import FBX. We will find our FBX. We'll make sure that animation is checked because we want the animation. And then we'll check automatic bone orientation, which I always do when importing FBXs. Our FBX will load super quick because our plugin actually enables Blender to import animated FBXs faster, which is awesome. If we hit play, we can see that we have it all imported and it's all working correctly here. Now we just need our character. So this character will actually be available for download in the description below for you all to play with. We're going to use the same process, File, Import FBX. Sometimes you'll want to disable this animation or leave it on depending on the character. I'm going to leave it off, but always make sure to check automatic bone orientation.
Oo nga pala, yung Just Dance din mocap.
Oo. No?
Oo. Pero yung damit nila,
now we will open up our Rococo tab and head to retargeting. Our mocap animation will go in the source slot and the character armature into the target slot. Then simply hit build bone list.
Pero napanood ko yung behind the scenes.
So if your bone list isn't generated automatically, you can just go in and manually assign each bone. For example, if this foot wasn't loaded in for some reason, we would just go in and select.
Meron sa PC ngayon.
And once you've done this once, you can just hit save and it will load automatically in the next time.
Kailangan tinik.
Phone.
You can also export the bone lists as JSON files to save outside of the plugin.
Hawak mo yung remote.
I will leave auto scale on to scale the animation to my character. And then select current. Both our animation and our character should be in the same pose when we do our retargeting. Now hit retarget animation. And there you go. Within a couple of clicks, we have our animation retargeted onto our character perfectly. This is so easy, and I truly believe this should be the standard workflow for mocap animation in Blender. Whether you record them in Rococo Studio or you get them from a library like Mixamo or Rococo's Motion Library. Retargeting will actually copy the data from our animation to our character's skeleton. So now we can delete the original mocap data if we want, and we could export this animated character to another project or program like Unreal if we needed to.
No, si Villa Franca, seryoso.
Okay, so before we get to live streaming data into Blender from Rococo Studio, I want to show you a workaround when your character has a rest pose that is different from a T pose. So commonly, this is an A pose. To check what your character's rest pose is, you can select your mesh and then hit 1 to enter edit mode. It can also be found up here. This character, which I rigged in Mixamo, had a rest pose like this. It was in an A pose when I rigged it. So when you have characters whose rest pose is different from a T pose, when you retarget, you can get results like this.
Halimbawa, ito yan, di ba? Kung nandito yung di rotate mo, susunod lahat yun.
So to compensate for this, before retargeting, you should select your animation skeleton,
kung gusto mo siya i-T-pose,
then get into pose mode, and then move the bones to match the rest pose of your character. So in this case, our character had more of an A pose, so I will adjust the bones accordingly.
Pag naka-pose mode.
Edit mode. Dapat sa
Then
edit.
directly after I adjust the bones, I will click
Pero
retarget.
naka,
And now
parang naka-follow path mo siya.
everything is working perfectly and
Naka-ready ako
smoothly.
dito
And
eh.
so you can kind of fine tune this more if you need to.
Pero
Okay,
weird
so
lang, wala
for the
kasi
final
obvious
portion of
sa
this
kabila.
tutorial, I'm going to walk through some
Tsaka
of the
kita mo,
live
laki
functions
ng
of this
pwesto niya, laki
plugin.
ng kwarto
So
niya.
here I have a character that has been rigged with the
Okay.
appropriate 52 blend shapes that we need to receive facial mocap. You'll need a character that has been rigged with facial blend shapes if you want to use facial mocap. Otherwise, this workflow
Tsaga niya,
will
tingnan mo
work
yung
for you
frame
if
niya.
you just want to
Daming
stream
keyframe.
live body data into Blender. Okay, so we've got our character in Blender ready to go. Let's jump into Rococo Studio. So here we go. I'm actually
Oh,
live. I'll turn on my camera here.
Natin yan eh.
Here we go.
buong galing.
All rigged up, ready to go.
Kaya ako
So in order
parang
to
mahal yata yung
stream
mocap na
live,
gamit
first thing we're going to want to do is set up our face capture. So I've got my iPhone 10 right here,
eh. Kita mo, iPhone.
and I'm going to open up Rococo Remote. And as soon as I hit the app, we'll see this green light up here. I'm going to connect on our iPhone. We'll get a prompt. I'll hit accept, and I'll turn on facial capture. And so now you can see our head is in our scene. And if I drag our head onto our actor profile, here we go. Now we are set up. We have facial mocap all working, ready to go, ready to be streamed into Blender. Okay. So to stream into Blender live, we will go to Start Live Stream. We'll click Blender.
Yeah.
14043 is our port. We'll remember that in case something goes wrong.
Yung, ano, yung
Now we'll
parang
switch over to
address niya.
Blender, and now in our Rococo Studio Live plugin here, we'll hit Start Receiver. And you can see that we get our suit and our face appear right here. And now if we select our armature, we go down to our actor right here, and we'll select C2J. For bones, we're going to auto detect. So it's kind of the same system that we use in the retargeting. And then once we've auto detected, we're going to hit set as T-pose. And we want our character to be in a T-pose when we do this. And as soon as we do,
Ang minuto ka. Bili mo na ang
boom, now we
tsakto mo.
have our character streaming live from Rococo Studio. So everything's working and we're streaming wonderfully. And there might be a tiny bit of lag because I'm recording this, but normally this will be really smooth. So now how do we get the face working as well? So instead of clicking on the armature, if we click on the mesh here, we'll get another option, attach to face. We'll select our face, and again, this is streaming from Rococo Studio. If we go back to Rococo Studio, hold up our iPhone, so we're getting data again. Go back to Blender, and you can see that we have this auto detect option right here. We'll click it, and there we go. And because this has the appropriate 52 blend shapes, this will just work automatically. Again, you need a character with those blend shapes in order to be streaming this data live. That's just for the face capture data, though. You can stream the body data just with a character that has been rigged, with any armature and a T-pose. You can also use the plugin to record this animation directly to your character and to the timeline in Blender, as well as use the Command API to control Rococo Studio from directly within Blender. I hope this was helpful. We are so excited about this new plugin, not only because it makes Blender import FBXs faster, but also just because this should now be the standard workflow for working with mocap animation, something that has been a little bit difficult in the past. So if you guys have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. And then always feel free to reach out to us directly at support@rococo.com. We have more exciting plugins coming out for other programs coming up soon, so stay tuned for that and have fun creating awesome mocap stuff out there. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Okay, balik na tayo. Okay, so yun. Hanap ka tayo, magkano yun? Mocap. So, meron ba sa Shopee yun?
Mahal ata yun, sir.
May bayad ba yan, Rococo?
May ano siguro, parang
Free trial.
pre-trial, ganun siguro.
May bayad pala member ng Blender.
Oo.
Kahit libre yung nila. Yung mga plugin.
Parang imposible makahanap. Siguro wala naman sa Shopee ng ganun.
Lazada.
Nasa ito parang ayaw man daw. Okay. So, punta na tayo sa second screen. Okay. So, yun. Okay, so dito tayo sa ano natin, yung question natin sa tawag dito, sa motion capture ng mukha. Diba? Ito kasi medyo basic pa lang siya, hindi ko nakalimutan tanggalan ng bibig. Diba? So, ang kaka-hide ko muna to. Punta muna ako sa object mode. Tago ko yung mukha. Okay. So, kung makikita mo, nawala isa. So, isang armature. Okay. So, yan. Kung nakikita yan. So, ito, ano pa lang to? Basic pa lang to. So, parang galaw-galaw pa lang ng muscle sa mga mukha yan. So, dito, tawag dito, kung basic nyo, kung gagawin kayo ng ano, talagang detalyado, mas maraming parang joints na gagawin. Okay. So, balik natin yung face builder. So, ang ginawa ko, kung titignan maigi dito, okay, so edit mode. Ayan. Medyo hindi ko na nga naayos, minadali ko lang eh. Diba? So, parang nangyari to, may mga parts dito para sa jaw, diba? Para makokontrol mo siya. What if, kunwari sabihin natin gusto natin konektado yung mukha yung dito, pati pagdating sa yung jawline papunta sa mata. So, pwede na kasi, ano natin dito, gusto natin connecta to. So, halimbawa, diba, gumawa tayo mga heads and tails na to. What if, syempre, parang alanganin na. So, hindi na, yung pangalawa, hindi natin siya mapag-combine. Hindi pala siya connected. So, para magawa yon is to, wait, nag-lag na naman. Sabihin natin, assume natin na to, click natin to, gusto natin connecta. Click, shift, tapos press F. So, nakita, nagkaroon siya ng connection. Ngayon, pwede na natin siyang, oy, bagal kasi. Ayan. Diba? So, parang may possible na kapag kang umuya siya, gagalaw yung dito niya sa jawline niya. So, for example, edit natin, punta tayo sa pose mode. Ay, hindi ko pala siya nakapag-combine. So, dapat pala kanina. So, baka pwede pa. Hindi na. Okay. So, sabihin natin from here. Okay. 1. So, S natin. Okay. Tapos, play. Wala na. Hindi. Okay. So, grab natin ito yung mga jawline. Balik tayo sa umpisa. Dapat laging tatandaan na galawin lang natin tapik lang. Tapos,
Sir, bakit yung iba gumagamit ng shape keyboard?
Pwede naman yun. Try nyo.
Madali lang gagamitin yun.
Hindi ko sure eh. Kasi bumabase ako sa kung ano yung natutunan namin nun.
Parang mas madali na yung sir.
Marami na kasi plugin ngayon. Pwede natin attempt na gamitin. Di ba? So, halimbawa ito, rotate din natin.
Animate ko na lang yung mukha.
So, kung may mahanap kayo na ibang plugin, di ba? Kasi, syempre, ako kasi hindi masyado akong mapag-plugin hanggat hindi ko na-check yung mga reviews ng tulad ng iba. Yung kunwari kapag ka-click mo, tapos sasabihin survey, na ganun, pagtagal-tagal, tapos di mo rin pala maano. Tapos yung pala ransomware, lalo na ngayon nakakatakot. Yung last na ano ko,
Okay.
buti wala pa ako sa Gardner doon nung na ransomware yung computer ko. Ay, sabi ko, hayaan ko na lang. Tinanggal ko na lahat ng files ko
Sa ransomware sa ano?
sa laptop ko.
Ah,
Hmm.
dahil sa plugin.
Ha?
Dahil sa plugin.
May nag-download yata ako ng ano, para sa ano yun, sa Unity. Nag-download ako ng Visual Studio. Kasi may bayad na. Ginaganap ako ng ano, pirated. Ayun. Pagka-install, parang, in-install ko, tapos pag, ano, parang walang nangyari. Tapos biglang nakita ko may notepad na lahat. Ayun, ransomware. Sabi ko, ulitin ko na lang. Siguro sabi nila, di na umulit sa akin eh. Sabi siguro walang pakialam to.
Sir, paano ba i-connect ulit yung object tsaka bone?
Okay,
Para
so
mag-lokat.
punta
May
muna
butang.
sa object mode, diba? So, assume natin na naklik na natin yung armature, tsaka yung object, which is, for example, yung face. Pag okay na siya, yung di ba mag-ano siya, dalawang orange, isang light orange, tsaka dark orange. Pag okay na yon, Control P. And then, armature with weights, ganun yung gagawin mo.
Para masundan.
Oo.
Sir, paano yung ano, sir? Paano ulit yung ikakabit yung ulo?
Saan?
Join pa yan eh. Nag-join lang
Oh,
ako.
join lang. Tama siya, si Tere. Ang diba, may binigay akong katawan sa inyo, may ulo. Siyempre, hindi na, medyo mahirap yan, di ba? I-ano mo, wiring mode mo. Halimbawa, ito. Di ba? So, edit ko to. Kunwari, sabi natin may katawan to. Hindi, ayaw. Ulit na lang tayo.
New.
Hindi ko pa na-install yan. Okay. Okay. Ay, oo nga pala, may unggoy. Nakalimutan ko. Oo, di ba? So, meron tayong dalawang object. Di ba? Hindi siya konektado. Assume natin na gumawa tayo na dito ng oops, sorry. Sabi natin dito. Okay, so medyo hindi siya accurate, diba? So, sabi natin pinutol na natin ulo, ito yung katawan, diba? So, gagawin natin, diba? Pagko-connecta natin, so may chances are, click mo to, kung tansyado mo na, Control J, okay. Sir, lumulutang, diba? Dito na tayo mag-edit, diba? So, pwede natin pag-connecta to, to. Mahirap na yun. Diba? So, tsagaan. F. Diba? So, nag-connecta na siyang ganyan, diba? So, pagbabasehin mo yung mga edges na dapat tingin mo magpapantay din sa gawa mo. So, yan. Binadali ko na lang. Pero, yung idea, diba? Mapag-connect mo siya. So, ganon. So, gusto mo, dikit mo na lang na ganon.
Sige, sir. Try ko gawin mamaya.
Sige. So, yun. Okay, so 352 na. Okay, so ano na tayo? Mamaya na lang magpo-post na activity niya. Activity tuloy.
Sir, ito-
Assignment pala.
Sir, yung finals ba, i-dress up pa ba namin o hindi?
Nakahubad.
O i-hubad lang namin.
Sige,
Yung
basta
character.
babae.
Ha? Basta,
Basta,
lalaki naman yung character.
gusto mo lalaki. Gusto mo lalaki nakahubad.